David Swiggs is the UAP candidate for Barker at this federal election. How are you, David?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Great, thank you. I know you're busy out there at pre-poll in Mount Gambier today. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all. Where are you from in the electorate of Barker, and what's your background?
Yeah, so I currently live at Compton, just out of Mount Gambier. Grew up on a sheep and cattle grazing property at Kalangadoo, just north of Mount Gambier. I share farmed that with my parents for about 15 years. Then we took a venture into retail in a bedding and furniture store in Mount Gambier. And then I spent 10 years with ANZ lending, so some retail, commercial and agribusiness lending with ANZ.
Now, just on that lending front, I might start there. One of the policies we've seen on the billboards, probably more in metropolitan areas, about the UAP policy is about fixing your home loan rate, perhaps for those that are struggling in the housing market. Just outline how that's going to work.
Yeah, so we're proposing to alleviate the, we don't want to see too much mortgage stress. We don't want to see any, actually. And we feel that with the cost of living pressures and inflation and rising rapidly, that we feel the need to propose a 3% for 5 years fixed rate option for people, so they can rest assured that they're not going to come under that mortgage stress while we get through this difficult period.
So is that your gold and black as your party colours? Is it sort of a new Commonwealth Bank you'd be starting as the UAP, or would you be forcing the banks through legislation to provide that loan?
We would be looking to legislate that. It's been done before, back in the 80s. So, we'd be looking to revisit that. It's not forever. It's just for a period of time to get us through this higher inflation, higher cost of living pressures.
And how are they being felt in the electorate of Barker in regional Australia? I mean, we've got fuel prices have been a major contributor to cost of living pressures. You mentioned home loans as well. What are the main drivers of cost of living issues for people in Barker?
Yeah, well, we've seen... I've received a lot of calls from people very concerned about the costs and going through different things and how much certain things have increased in price. I think people are worried that it's only just beginning and that they're not seeing a huge amount of wage growth, and they're very worried about, maybe not so much right now, but certainly into the future, they're worried about, discussions around when their fixed rate comes off. They might have a 1, 2 or 3 year fixed rate now that they're locked into. But when it comes off, how's that going to look in the household budget?
Now, you mentioned you've got a farming background. What is the United Australia Party offering in terms of what's going to be good for farmers? Are we talking trade? Are we talking investment in agriculture, or just infrastructure our farmers need?
Oh, there's various things we're looking to do for regional areas. We're looking to address water issues and things like that, but a couple of our main policies revolve around incentivising people to come back to the regional centres and regional communities through our 20% tax rebate. So what we're proposing is that people living 200 kilometres from a capital city would be eligible for a 20% tax rebate at the end of the year. We feel this will inject some additional funds into the economies of the regional areas, and as Craig Kelly said, people know how to spend the money in their communities a lot better than government does. So rather than the government handout, we want to incentivise people to come back to the regional communities. We also feel that it will bring investment back to regional communities, and it will bring services back to regional communities. So, yeah, that's that one.
Yeah, just on that one, so that's a personal income tax, I gather. People would get 20% of that back if they're living beyond 200 k's from the CBD.
That's right.
Yep, and I get what we're hearing around the places in regional South Australia is that it's not so much. I mean, there's plenty of jobs. They just can't find the people to fill those jobs. So you're looking to actually meet that supply problem by enticing people out of the city, basically. Yeah,
we certainly are. Look, I was quite shocked to walk into a local hotel the other day, and they said they're closed for lunch because of lack of staff. And this is not an isolated issue. I think given the whole COVID pandemic and things like that, quite a few people have perhaps brought retirement forward, which has put pressure on that sort of thing where there may not be as many people to go around to fill these jobs. But yeah, we certainly want to entice people back to the regional areas. And another policy we want to propose is our 25% back to regions policy, which basically means that there's an enormous amount of wealth created in the regions. And we want that recognised, and we want a minimum of 25% of the revenue that's realised in the regional areas to actually stay in the regional areas rather than be poured into the cities.
Yeah, I think what's traditionally been called a royalties for regions policy, so 25% of that would come back to Barker, for instance, if it came from Barker, I take it.
Yeah. And just on that, in my travels, I've done quite a bit of campaigning and driving around Barker, and certainly along the edge of Barker, Mayo and Spence, there's a real difference between what I'm seeing in infrastructure in those electorates closer to the city than what we see in Barker. I mean, our roads are in an absolute shocking mess in the country. Some people refer to them as goat tracks. I mean, there needs to be a lot of work done there. So, yeah, we think that, the regions produce a lot of revenue, and we think that they deserve to have a minimum of 25% invested back in there.
Now, I've noticed a number of your promotional material for UAP also says freedom, freedom, freedom. What are the freedoms you're looking to provide or restore for Australians?
Well, it really is just freedom. We do say it 3 times. But look, I think one thing we're very, very passionate about and very strong on is actually to propose a Bill of Rights to clear up some of these areas that aren't quite transparent with regards to freedom. So we want to make sure that every Australian has freedom to associate and freedom of speech and freedom of movement, freedom of religion. We want those written into law, and we want to take that to a referendum to do so.
All right, well, David, I'll let you get back to getting votes down at the Mount Barker Pre-Poll Centre, and we'll wish you all the best for the 21st of May.
No worries. Look, we're very lucky with the weather. It's a chilly morning, but I'm sure it's only going to improve when the cloud clears. And, looking forward to a good day. It's very busy, actually. And thank you for your time.
No worries. Thanks, David.